I want you to picture two people. The first is Ryan. He is 25 years old, just started his first real job, making $48,000 a year. His parents told him to invest early, so he opens a 401k and puts in $200 a month. He feels responsible. He is one of the rare young people who starts it all. He tells himself he will increase the contributions later once things settle down. The second is Marcus. He is 45 years old. His two kids just left for college. His mortgage is almost paid off. He is making $94,000 a year. He sits down one evening, opens his laptop, and looks at his retirement accounts. He sees something that stops him cold. Zero. Nothing. 2 decades of working, paying bills, raising children, making reasonable decisions one at a time. And he has exactly $0 invested for retirement. Ryan has a 20-year head start. Ryan has time on his side. Ryan has compound interest working for him every single day for 4 decades. By every piece of conventional financial wisdom ever published, Ryan should retire with dramatically more money than Marcus. The math is not even close. Here is what actually happens. Marcus starts investing aggressively at 45. He applies a specific strategy built around his exact life stage. At 65, Marcus retires with approximately $780,000. Ryan invested steadily from 25 to 65. He never increased his contributions. He stayed at $200 a month for 40 years, always intending to increase it later and never quite doing it. Ryan retires at 65 with $479,000. Marcus, who started with zero at 45, retired with $300,000 more than Ryan, who started at 25. This is the math nobody shows you. Not because it is secret, because it destroys a belief the financial industry depends on keeping alive. Here is the conventional wisdom. Start investing as early as possible. Time in the market beats timing the market. Let compound interest do its work over decades. Every financial advisor, every personal finance book, every YouTube video aimed at young people repeats some version of this. That advice is not wrong. It is incomplete in a way that keeps late starters paralyzed at the exact moment they could be taking the most powerful financial action of their lives. The standard early start advice assumes that starting early means starting at the same intensity, the same savings rate, the same level of financial commitment across your entire life. But that is not how life works. A 25-year-old with $48,000 in annual income, student loan payments, entry-level rent, minimal employer benefits, and the constant financial pull of building an adult life does not invest the same way a 45-year-old does. The 45-year-old has peak earnings, a nearly paid-off home, children who no longer require daily financial support, 20 years of financial mistakes already made and paid for, a professional network that generates opportunity, a spending life that has already been structured and optimized through decades of trial and error. The standard early start advice does not compare equal situations. It compares the best possible version of starting early against a flattened, fictional version of starting late. It assumes the 25-year-old will keep investing as income grows. Most do not. It assumes the 45-year-old is trapped at a low savings rate. Most are not. Here's what most people do not realize. The 40s are, for most middle-class Americans, the single most financially powerful decade of their lives, and almost nobody frames it that way. My name is Marcus, and I have spent years analyzing why certain financial decisions in midlife create dramatically different retirement outcomes than the standard financial media suggests. If you are someone who feels behind on retirement savings and wonders whether it is already too late to make a real difference, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button if this information helps you out. The mechanism behind the 45-year-old advantage has 4 components. Understanding each one matters because they do not add together. They multiply together. The first component is income. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, American workers typically reach their peak earning years between ages 45 and 54. The median weekly earnings for workers in their late 40s are approximately 35% higher than for workers in their late 20s. The 25-year-old who earns $48,000 a year becomes the 45-year-old who earns $85,000 to $100,000 a year. That difference in annual income is not a rounding error. It is the entire mechanism. Higher income means more investable cash, period. The second component is the elimination of major expenses. By 45, most middle-class American households have dramatically reduced their student loan obligations. Their children, if they have them, are approaching or past the most expensive years of childcare and early education. Their mortgage, if they have one, has had 15 to 20 years of payments, reducing both the remaining balance and often the monthly financial burden. The Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances shows that household spending on dependents drops by an average of 31% when children transition out of the home. That money does not disappear. It redirects. Same house, same car, same neighborhood, dramatically different monthly surplus. The third component is what the IRS calls catch-up contributions, which is one of the most powerful and least discussed features in the entire American retirement system. Here is how it works. The standard 401k contribution limit for 2024 is $23,000 per year. Workers who are 50 or older can contribute an additional $7,500 annually, bringing the total to $30,500 per year in tax-advantaged 401k space alone. Add a Roth IRA with its own catch-up provision of $8,000 annually for workers over 50, and the total tax-advantage contribution room reaches $38,500 per year. A 25-year-old legally cannot contribute that much. The federal government specifically designed these catch-up rules to help late starters accelerate. The system is on your side. Almost nobody talks about that. The fourth component is behavioral. By 45, most people have made their significant financial mistakes. They have lived through at least one market crash. They have experienced the slow, grinding pain of credit card debt carried across years. They have watched friends and colleagues make different choices and seen the outcomes compound in both directions. The 45-year-old investor is almost always a more disciplined, more focused, more deliberate investor than their 25-year-old self would have been. Banks understand these dynamics perfectly, but have zero incentive to explain them to you. The financial industry profits from the belief that if you have not started by 30, you have already lost. That belief drives fear-based product purchases, high-cost managed accounts, and financial decisions made from panic rather than clarity. Paralysis and anxiety are profitable. Calm, late-stage, systematic investing is less so. The benchmarks that make you feel like a failure were created by institutions that profit from your anxiety. Let me show you the exact math of two paths. This is where the conventional narrative collapses. Consider two people with identical starting points. Both have zero savings. Both are starting completely fresh. The only difference is their age and the financial situation that naturally comes with that age. Daniel is 25. He earns $48,000 per year. After federal and state taxes, student loan payments, rent, and basic living costs, he can realistically invest $250 per month. He invests consistently for 40 years until retirement at 65. He earns an average annual return of 7%, which is a conservative and reasonable historical estimate for a diversified stock index fund portfolio. At 65, Daniel has approximately $662,000. Catherine is 45. She earns $92,000 per year. Her mortgage has 18 years remaining with a balance under $160,000. Her two children are in college. Her student loans are paid off. She redirects what used to go to childcare, adds a portion of her increased income, and eliminates accumulated expenses she identified during a financial audit. She can invest $1,500 per month. She earns the same 7% annual return for 20 years. At 65, Catherine has approximately $737,000. Catherine, starting 20 years later with zero savings, retired with more money than Daniel. Let me repeat that, because the implication is significant. Catherine started at 45 with nothing. Daniel started at 25 with nothing. Catherine invested 6 times as much per month for half as long. She ended up ahead. The math seems counterintuitive. Until you understand that compounding works on the amount you actually contribute, not just on the years you have available. Now add the catch-up contribution advantage. Catherine turns 50 during this 20-year investment window. She maximizes her 401k at $30,500 annually for 15 years, plus a Roth IRA at $8,000 for the same period. Her total tax-advantage contributions reach $38,500 per year. Same 7% return. Same 20 years from age 45 to 65. At 65, Catherine has approximately $1.2 million. You might be thinking that Catherine's income is unrealistic or that most people cannot find $1,500 a month to invest at 45. That is exactly the assumption worth examining carefully. The average American household in their mid-40s earns more than at any other point in their lives, while simultaneously seeing their largest recurring expenses begin to shrink. The investable surplus in your 40s is almost always larger than you have calculated. Most people have simply never done the calculation. The loophole is not hidden because it is illegal. It is hidden because nobody at a financial services firm gets paid to explain to a 45-year-old that they might actually be in an advantageous position. Let me tell you about Jennifer. She is 45 years old, living in a suburb of Columbus, Ohio. She works as a senior operations manager at a manufacturing company, earning $91,000 per year. Her husband works part-time, contributing another $22,000 annually. Combined household income, $113,000. Jennifer opens her household financial summary on a Tuesday evening and sees clearly, perhaps for the first time, exactly where she stands. $4,200 in checking. $200 in a savings account she opened 3 years ago after a financial resolution that never went anywhere. $0 in any retirement account. $0 in any investment account. Nothing. She never felt financially irresponsible. The mortgage payments came first, every month for 22 years, then car payments for 2 vehicles across 15 years, then braces for 2 children, spread across 8 years, then childcare, elementary school supplies, sports programs, school trips. Then her husband's back surgery and the medical bills that followed. Every individual decision seemed completely reasonable. The collective result, seen clearly and all at once, was frightening. Can I actually build anything real starting here? Is 20 years enough time? Should I have started sooner? Jennifer did not win the lottery. She did not receive an inheritance. She did not sell a business or discover a side income that changed everything overnight. She followed a systematic approach built specifically for her life stage and executed it consistently for 20 years. The first phase was what Jennifer called the financial audit. During the first 60 days, she tracked every dollar flowing in and out of the household without changing any behavior. What she discovered surprised her. $430 per month in subscription services, many of which she had not used in over a year. A recurring gap of approximately $1,700 between what her household spent on food and what a deliberately planned grocery budget would have required. Car insurance that was $100 per month above comparable coverage from a competing provider. She made these corrections within the first 30 days. Monthly investable cash increased by $960 without changing her income by a single dollar. The second phase was debt elimination. Jennifer had one remaining non-mortgage debt, A home equity line with $11,800 outstanding at 9.2% interest. She redirected $2,000 per month toward this balance. It was paid in full within 6 months. The monthly interest she had been carrying, approximately $90, disappeared. More importantly, the last remaining non-mortgage debt was eliminated. Her monthly free cash flow increased substantially. The third phase was the account structure. Jennifer opened a 401k through her employer and immediately contributed enough to capture the full employer match, which was 4% of her salary. That was an immediate 100% return on $3,640 per year in matched contributions alone. She opened a Roth IRA and contributed $7,000 in year 1. She turned 50 during year 5 and immediately activated catch-up provisions, targeting $30,500 annually in the 401k and $8,000 in the Roth IRA. The fourth phase was income acceleration. During year 3 of her plan, Jennifer applied for and received a director-level promotion. Her salary increased to $107,000. She made a specific commitment before the raise arrived. She would not increase her lifestyle spending by a single dollar. The entire income increase went directly into investment accounts. Financial researchers call this a savings windfall commitment, and it is one of the most powerful wealth-building strategies available to mid-career professionals. It is also one of the least practiced. The fifth phase was the mortgage payoff dividend. Jennifer and her husband paid off their mortgage entirely in year 8 of the plan. The $1,100 monthly payment that had existed for 23 years suddenly became fully investable capital. She redirected it immediately into a taxable brokerage account invested in a total stock market index fund. Over the final 12 years of her investment window, this one structural change contributed approximately $230,000 to her portfolio. At 65, Jennifer had approximately $780,000 in investment accounts. She started at 45 with $4,200 in checking and nothing invested anywhere. She retired with $750,000, funded entirely by a strategy built around her specific life stage, not advice designed for someone 20 years younger. A plan built for exactly where she was standing. Here is what to do now based on where you are standing. If you are in your 20s or early 30s, the most important action is not maximizing your 401k or finding the highest yield investment. It is establishing the habit of investing automatically before lifestyle expenses can absorb your growing income. Specifically, set up an automatic transfer of $200 per month into a brokerage account on the same day your paycheck arrives. Not someday. This week, open the account today and schedule the transfer before you close this video. The dollar amount matters far less than the automation. Once the habit is embedded, you can increase the amount. The person who starts at $200 and increases incrementally over 10 years almost always beats the person who planned to start at $500 and spent years preparing to begin. If you are in your late 30s or 40s, you are standing at the most financially leveraged moment of your adult life, and most financial content is not telling you that. This is the decade when income is rising, major debts are contracting, and the gap between what you earn and what you must spend can be the largest it will ever be. Do 3 specific things this month. First, log into your company's 401k portal immediately and increase your contribution rate to at least 15% of your salary. If your employer matches contributions, ensure you are capturing the full match before anything else. That match is an immediate 100% return on the dollars you contribute. Second, open a Roth IRA if you do not have one, and schedule a monthly automatic contribution of $500 to start. Third, calculate your household's actual monthly cash flow using 90 days of real bank transactions, not estimates. Identify one specific expense you can reduce by at least $300. Direct that amount into an investment account this month, not next month. If you are 50 or older with limited savings, The choices become more consequential now, not less. But the catch-up contribution rules exist specifically because the federal government recognized that millions of Americans arrive at 50 without adequate savings. Use them. If your employer offers a 401k, target the maximum contribution of $30,500 per year. If that is not immediately achievable, set a quarterly review to increase contributions by 1% every 3 months until you reach the maximum. Open a Roth IRA and contribute the maximum $8,000 per year. If your mortgage is approaching payoff, make a written commitment now, before the final payment, that the entire monthly mortgage amount redirects automatically into investment accounts the following month. Do not allow lifestyle creep to absorb it. Schedule the automatic transfer before the mortgage ends. Take one action in the next 60 seconds that commits you to beginning. Log into your retirement account portal right now and increase your contribution rate by 2%. Not someday. Today. That one change, compounded over 20 years, is worth tens of thousands of dollars in retirement savings. Here's something most people never consider about the math of starting late. The conventional discussion of compound interest focuses almost entirely on time. Start early, let decades do the work. $1 invested at 25 compounds to approximately $8 at 65. $1 invested at 45 compounds to roughly $4. The math is accurate. But the compound interest charts never show what the 45-year-old is actually investing. The person who starts at 45 typically invests dollars that are worth 2 to 3 times more in absolute quantity than the dollars the 25-year-old could invest. Higher income, lower obligations, more disciplined behavior, fewer emotional decisions, more consistent execution across market cycles. The quality and quantity of each invested dollar is fundamentally different across these two life stages. Your 40s decisions compound just like money does. The years spent building professional skills, establishing credibility in your field, paying down debts, raising children who no longer need full daily financial support, surviving economic cycles and learning from them, all of that created the exact conditions for the most powerful investment decade of your life. The 40s did not arrive despite your history. They arrived because of it. The person who starts at 25 with $200 a month and never increases is not demonstrating the power of starting early. They are demonstrating the cost of starting comfortably and staying comfortable. Beginning something is not the same as building something. The person who starts at 45 with $1,500 a month increases systematically using catch-up provisions and redirects every major expense that disappears into the investment pipeline, is demonstrating what focused, stage-appropriate financial action actually produces. Here is what most people never consider. The financial industry profits from your belief that you have already lost. Every year you spend convinced that starting at 45 is hopeless is a year you do not deploy the considerable financial power your life stage actually provides. The anxiety that keeps you frozen is not an accurate assessment of your situation. It is a manufactured belief that serves no one except the institutions that profit from your paralysis. Investing follows mechanical rules. Those rules are knowable. Once known, they can be applied at any age. You are not exploiting a glitch. You are using features of the retirement system that were specifically designed for exactly the position you are in. Picture yourself at 70 years old. You are sitting on a porch somewhere quiet. It is early morning, there is coffee. The light is good. In one version of this future, you are thinking about which grandchild you will visit this month. Whether to take the trip to Portugal you have been discussing with your spouse for the past 2 years. Whether to increase your charitable giving this year, now that the portfolio is performing ahead of projections. You close your laptop without looking at your balance, because you already know it is fine. In the other version, you open the same spreadsheet you look at every single morning. Social Security provides $1,847. You withdraw $300 from savings each month because there is no alternative. Rent for the one-bedroom apartment you moved into after selling the house is $790. Medicare supplemental coverage costs $260. Groceries, utilities, and medications bring the monthly total to $2,147. There is no discretionary budget, no margin. Any unexpected expense, a car repair, a dental procedure, a flight to visit someone you love, creates an immediate crisis that ripples through the next several months. Both versions of you made their decisions in the decades before 70. Both are living with the compounding consequences of choices that seemed small at the time. Here is the truth about this moment. Most people watching this will not act on what they just heard. They will feel the familiar combination of clarity and overwhelm, close the video, and return to the same financial patterns they have maintained for years. That is the most common outcome. It is the outcome the financial industry counts on. A small percentage will take one specific action today. They will log into an account, set up an automatic transfer, calculate their actual monthly investable cash for the first time in years, increase a contribution by 2%. These are not dramatic moves, but compounded over 20 years, they determine the entire trajectory. Jennifer did not have any advantages you do not have. She did not have special knowledge, a financial advisor with proprietary strategies, or a family safety net. She started at 45 with $4,200 in checking and nothing invested anywhere. She had a plan designed for her exact life stage, built around the specific financial advantages that 45 actually provides. What you do with that knowledge will determine